Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. Now Arrowhead just announced their newest content drop, Escalation of Freedom, and boy, things are looking good for Helldivers 2. There's going to be new enemies, new base layouts, new objectives, and above all, a whole new difficulty. And I've watched this announcement video multiple times, and I wanted to make a video just sharing my thoughts with you all and what I'm looking most forward to. And let's start with the enemies, and there are a couple new enemies announced, and let's start with the Impaler. Coming back from Helldivers 1, the Impaler looks massive. It looks absolutely breathtaking, and the mechanics revolving around it looks the same as it was in the first game. It's going to burrow its head into the ground and then sprout these tentacles that force you to either flee or fight. And the tentacles themselves look just as good. When it attacks, it looks like they come out pretty fast, and beyond the actual impact, which given Arrowhead's track record with these things, I'm pretty sure they're going to one-shot you. But it also has an area of effect around that point of impact that can damage and send you to a ragdoll. I'm curious about what would be the best way to take out these tentacles. Maybe you can stick a thermite on each of them and that would be enough. I imagine they'd have a fair amount of health, but nothing too crazy. And the next enemy is the Spore Charger, and this thing looks diseased. In the video, they described it as a sort of mobile spore spewer, so you know, like just a walking fog machine. So just think of that just slapped onto a charger. And looking at it, I feel that if it was to be killed, it will explode. I get real like Left 4 Dead 2, was it Boomer vibes from this thing. I'm curious if this is basically the same stats as the base charger, just with that sporing type of feature, or if it is armored in any different way. The Spore Spewer radius on the existing, Spore Spear is pretty wide, so I imagine that if there are a couple of these Spore Chargers running around, then visibility can really suck. Either way, with both this and the Impaler, that's already two heavily looking armored enemies just introduced to the bug front, so anti-tank weapons are definitely going to be needed once this drops. And the last bug enemy introduced is a more deadlier Brood Commander. It's bigger, it looks like instead of spawning warrior bugs, it spawned the regular version of the Brood Commander. And those guys can spawn warrior bugs, so I feel like one of those, deadlier Brood Commanders already can possibly be a whole patrol or two worth of bugs, so that's a very high value target to take out. I can only imagine that the enraged state for this bug, once you take out the head, can be absolutely, crazy, because once you decapitate the regular Brood Commander, they just run at you. You probably get 2 swipes and then they die, and that 2 swipes also brings you to maybe like 10-20% health. I imagine this thing might speed that just on a whole new level. And the regular Brood Commander also has this attack where they can charge and send you, not flying, but they can concuss you. And I'm wondering if this version of it with the bigger Brood Commander can pretty much hit you with a charger-like force. On the automaton front, the only new enemy they introduce are these artillery tanks. And on the bug front, Biospears would be constantly lobbing barrage after barrage of that green glop at you, but now the automatons have their own version of that, aside from the mortar emplacements. And it looks like an Annihilator tank. And there was a short part in the video where you could see the backside of it, and what I noticed was there was no venting or that orange-red hue that could indicate a sort of weak spot. And whether you're close up or far away, it'll be able to shoot rockets at you and your team. And unfortunately, we did not get to see what the damage was when getting hit by the rocket looks like. That's something we're going to have to learn the hard way. And the time in between shots looks pretty fast, and the explosive radius also looks fairly big too. So this new tank can be very interesting to deal with. And those were the officially introduced new enemies, but they also showed this short clip of a Scout Strider. And this looks like something that Automaton R&D had a field day with. It's a Scout Strider with rockets mounted to its side. There's also no visible rider, as it seems to be covered at the top, and I think it also covers the backside. So beyond new enemies, it seems there may be different variants of already existing enemies, which I'm super excited for, especially when difficulty 10 drops. And difficulty 10 wasn't talked about too much. They briefly mentioned that it will, of course, have more enemies. There wasn't any talk about the amount of samples available, the number of different side objectives, but what they did mention was there's new nests and outposts. And I'm unsure if this will be exclusive to just difficulty 10, but man, these things look really cool. Both the Terminid and Automaton massive outposts looks like real bases that will take a lot of coordination and time to take out effectively. And the current Terminid heavy nest that we all have in the game already all the bug holes are visible, and it doesn't really require you to per se be in the nest to clear it. A nicely placed 380 barrage, a couple of rockets, and you can take it out easy. This nest though, with its high structures, limited line of sight from one bug hole to another, feels like you really need to sort of be in there to run around to clear the nest. As for the new automaton outpost, I counted only 3 bot fabricators, which isn't a lot. The heavy automaton outposts have 4 fabricators, but you have a detector tower straight at the heart of this new outpost, and this, I'm assuming this isn't a side objective detector tower. This is one just for this outpost, and for you to get that area clear thing pop up, you need to clear out this detector tower, making it a requirement for the outpost itself. And I think that's really cool. And since they've done this with a detector tower, can you imagine replacing this with something like a stratagem jammer? Like that's gonna be crazy. And something they mentioned is that if you are able to overtake these outposts, you can get some rewards. And I'm not quite sure what they meant by that, but I'm 100% curious and excited to see what that entails. They show a Helldiver carrying an automaton head, and I'm thinking that if I carry this back to extract, can I like decorate my super destroyer? Is this something just as a trophy, or is this something with actual impact? Like, in a future ship upgrade, will I need 10 automaton heads or something? Either way, I want it. It looks really cool, and I see how it can be even an added difficulty to carry that back, because he's carrying it only one hand. You can't carry two-handed weapons. It's almost like you're carrying those SSD drives. So something that's really interesting there. And beyond enemies, they're also introducing a different type of the swamp type planet, the environment. They wanted to give it a more spookier feel. And from the clips they show, it really does give a more eerie and gloomier type of vibe. Acid storms now reduce both Helldiver and enemy armor, causing both groups to take more damage. I like this change a lot. Acid storms just having the same visibility drawback as a blizzard and a sandstorm made sense, but it's an acid storm. It should be doing more, and having lower armor values can make things interesting. I'm curious if this also affects heavier units where weapons of a different penetration type can now actually do something against them. And next are some new game modes. One is called Retrieve Larvae, where one of you will need to carry a backpack of a terminid larvae, and you need to carry it with you back to extract, but it will constantly cry and trigger bug breaches. So basically, if you had a game where you had a toxic teammate and they were constantly complaining and always fighting every patrol, you basically already played this mission type. And I mean that because you're literally going to be carrying them on your back until the end of the game. And from the video, it looks like there's also going to be just one larvae to carry. And as to how often it triggers those bug breaches, I'm not quite sure. It's still a very interesting concept. And a bit of my just 2 cents, the gameplay footage in this video is so funny. Look, they're all just standing here and shooting. Like, they're not moving, no strafe, no like just looking around. Like, can you guys move? And in the moment this guy moves, he gets TK'd. I think this is great. And the last part covered in the video was just about the storytelling, which I am also very interested in. To be honest, these past few major orders have just been feeling like some filler episodes to my favorite show, and I'm now ready for the next big reveal. And one thing not covered in this video were new weapons to deal with these enemies, and higher difficulties and larger outposts. Like, yes, there's a whole new slew of things coming, but what do we have to fight with that? And granted, they did not disclose everything, so everything they said here is not everything we're gonna get. There's gonna be a lot of other stuff coming in that is gonna be a secret until it actually drops. But I was just hoping to hear something about a new weapon or a stratagem, being added to our arsenal. Overall, super excited for Escalation of Freedom when it drops. I'm curious to see what you guys are excited about. Also, let me know in the comments below, what are you hoping for? I'm most excited for the new outposts because those look super cool. If you like what you heard or like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I make a lot of Helldivers 2 videos, so of course when the time this update becomes live, I'm going to be making lots of content for that. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Appreciate you guys for checking out the video, and have a nice day.